Yogis, thank you for joining Yoga Chats. And today, my guest is Tara Duffy, who I know as a long-term Iyengar Yoga teacher based in Galway, but Tara and myself have actually met in India as well. And you have been teaching and practicing Iyengar Yoga for a long time, Tara, and you quite recently opened a yoga studio, a not-for-profit yoga studio in Galway. So I'm really interested to hear your story and hear how that has gone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Greg, for having me. It's a real honor to be on your podcast.
Well, likewise. So tell me, what's your yoga story, Tara?
My yoga story starts in London about 22 years ago. I was working as a journalist then, and I joined a gym down the street in Oxford Circus, and they had yoga classes. So I started going there. And very luckily for me, the second or third class that I went to was with an Iyengar Yoga teacher. And I just really enjoyed it. It felt a little bit, to be honest, a little bit like gymnastics, which I had done as a child, but it was very calming and I loved the stretching. And I started going there. And after a few months, one day I got the time wrong and my teacher wasn't there and I happened to have my trainers. So I went in and did my gym practice, which I really didn't enjoy. But I found that having done yoga for the interim period and no gym, I was at the same place in terms of the gym as having, even though I hadn't been going. So basically, I discovered that yoga was giving me the same that my little gym workout was giving me. So I decided just to drop the gym and just keep going with yoga. And I just got more and more interested in the different aspects, from the physical to the pranayama, learning a little bit about the philosophy slowly, because it really took some time to get interested in that side of things. And then it just sort of followed me wherever I went. I started teacher training in London, and because my job—
What year would that have been?
That was 2003. And is that right? Yeah, 2003. And I did a couple of months, and then I got this great job opportunity in Beijing. So I decided, yoga can wait. And I went to Beijing, and there was no Iyengar Yoga there at the time. And I just did my practice, and I was thinking I'd like to finish my training. So eventually I found a teacher in Hong Kong and started doing monthly trips there to do the training. But then that got interrupted by getting pregnant. So I had to put that on hold. But then a very senior Iyengar Yoga teacher, started coming to Beijing to do teacher training. So I was very lucky that everything aligned and I was able to join the teacher training with my teacher, Faik Viria. And his trainings in China were a little bit different actually from the rest of the world, because there was no Iyengar Yoga in China before. So I feel like we had a special opportunity where we learned the basics, but the Chinese students are very intense. So he realized that very soon, and they're quite young. So it was there was a quick learning curve for everyone. And then that was 2008 that we recommenced the training, and I finished it a few years later, and then we had to wait for assessments and all that. But eventually we moved back to Ireland, and moved to Ireland for me in 2013. And so I started teaching in Galway, outside Galway in Kinvara. And then we moved back and forth to Asia a couple of times. I won't go into all the details, but it included stints in Hong Kong and Taiwan. And we just moved back from Taiwan last July. So that's right in a nutshell.
Well, welcome back. So you're not even back a year.
It'll be a year and a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so within a year, you obviously restarted teaching classes and then decided, I'm going to open a yoga studio. Now, I do remember talking to you, I think a couple of years ago, because it was on your mind, but then you got dragged abroad for a while.
Yeah. Well, I had been talking with another Iyengar teacher in Galway. There's only two of us in the city, about opening a studio. And the timing wasn't quite right because I knew we were leaving for Taiwan. So she was the one who kind of reminded me that this was something to get moving on at the end of the pandemic, at the end of lockdowns and close of classes. So we're very lucky that we had this connection to this space, which used to be an old driving range. And the developers there are redeveloping into like a wellness center. So they're putting in outdoor fitness classes initially, and then they're going to build a gym. And we had a small space dedicated for yoga, and they really wanted that to be a part of the site. So the timing all aligned, and the other teacher, Sarah Falvey, and I started talking about it. And of course, we can't cover all the classes ourselves. So there's other teachers there as well in other styles. And we're really trying to make it a community of kind of what maybe is somewhat new to Galway, of having the sense of like a yoga studio serving the community.
Didn't Galway not have a yoga studio prior to that?
There are studios. I used to teach at a place called Iyengar Yoga, and there's I think another one that maybe had to shut during the pandemic, and then other studios. My impression is that they're kind of a little bit smaller with maybe 1 or 2 teachers. So this studio is. We're really trying to give everyone a little bit of choice. So there's classes in the morning, the evening, the daytime, and a whole range of styles and levels. But the real kind of distinguishing factor, which you mentioned earlier, is that I really want to make it available for people who don't usually come to yoga. So whether that's because of financial constraints or social constraints or disabilities, we're trying to reach out to different organizations so that we can make yoga a regular thing, not just like a one-off or like a short-term thing. So we're trying to use any profit that we do take in to have regular classes for people in, a range of different backgrounds.
Okay. And I'm being nosy. So you're calling it a not-for-profit yoga studio. Is it making a profit?
Well, we have, is it making a profit?
Can I rephrase that? Because I feel I'm prying a little.
No.
Are you have, is this your full-time thing?
So this is not my full-time job. And, it's really with the support of the development of the bigger site that we have this opportunity to start when we did. And so we, on a kind of profit sheet basis, there is money that we can put towards paying teachers to provide these classes for different groups. And we don't even want it just to be for like specific groups, but we'd like to offer discounts, which we already are offering. So for example, we can partner with an organization that provides services for, disadvantaged groups in Galway. And initially we're providing discounts for the staff or the volunteers. And later, we hope to integrate classes for what people often call service users of those organizations as well. So because I think, as you know, even just in a general class, everyone has such different needs. So some of these classes might be specifically for particular groups, and other times it might just be providing a voucher or a discount so that these people could come to a regular class.
I appreciate it. That's really honorable. That's really, that's a great vision. And do you find, has there been a response to it?
Well, we opened back in October, November-ish. And it's kind of we're still feeling like we're in the soft opening phase because there was, Omicron and the different waves of that interfering with things. And even with the groups we wanted to reach out to, being a little hesitant to have someone come in to teach yoga or having their, that kind of contact. But it seems like in the past couple of months, things are getting back to normal. And so we have a partnership in the works with 2 organizations at the moment, and we're going to just kind of take things slowly and see if we can build on that, because we have space in our classrooms for additional students. As you know, you mentioned in our discussion earlier that it's slow for people to come back after COVID. So, I think it's not like as if our classes are full and we have to find extra time to fit in extra people. We're trying to make this space for everyone.
Okay, that's really great. And you opened, when you actually opened, were you allowed to have group classes indoors at that stage?
We opened after they allowed the group classes. So they were limited. I think that was when they were still saying if they're vaccinated, a certain number, unvaccinated, different number.
Yeah. Oh, it was very tricky, wasn't it? We were supposed to check for vaccine status and all that kind of thing. It was, I hope we don't go back to that. So yeah. It was very challenging. And a lot of people didn't want to come in or didn't want to reveal their vaccine status. And I understand all that. It was very challenging. And yeah, so you then would have reopened in January?
So we opened in November officially. Yeah. And then, of course, there's the Christmas break. And then we decided to wait one more week after Christmas because of the surge with Omicron. Yeah. And then we just reopened. And it's really depends on how comfortable people feel coming back to class in person. But I think there was a lot, like more and more, we're seeing people who just really want to get back to something or start something new after not having much activity during COVID or not much interaction with other people. And there's even people who have been doing a lot of yoga online, but they're just tired of doing it online and want to be in person.
Are you doing a lot? Are you offering online or are you in person only?
At the moment, there may be one or two teachers who have a couple students still online. I think the rest of us are mostly doing just in person. I was living in Taiwan for the last 2 years before we came back to Ireland, and I was doing a couple classes online for those students because Taiwan is in a different phase of the pandemic than Ireland, but I probably will start to phase that out soon.
Mm-hmm. It's a very different time zone, I'd imagine, as well. Were you up at all hours to offer your Irish yogis?
Well, when I was teaching for the students in Taiwan, I just had to limit the classes to the morning. When I first came back, I was like, okay, sure, anytime. But then I had to just put a limit to making it accessible for myself as well.
And so indeed, and so your vision for the studio, because I keep an eye on your social media, and you've been having concerts, you've been having quite a lot of social. Tell us.
So when we had finally we were ready to have our opening, which was in May, after opening in November, we, Sarah Falvey suggested having some music, and she mentioned this musician, Matthew Noon, who is trained in classical Northern Indian music. The instrument he plays called the sarod. And so he came and played at our opening reception back in May. And he was the one who suggested having like a monthly concert. And it's a really lovely way to get people to see the studio. And it's a lovely space where it's right facing Galway Bay and a nice big former driving range, which is a lovely bit of green as well before the sea. And you can see the barn as well. So the concerts might start happening monthly, which would be great because most people don't want to take a yoga class at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. So it's another way to use the space. And we tried it. Our first concert after the opening was last week. And we tried to have yoga and some food available for people at a food truck outside and then the concert. So, it would be nice to have more of that happening in the future.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really great. It's something at the moment, I feel I don't quite have time to do it because I'm doing all of the running of the studio myself, but it is something I have done in the past and really enjoy. I think we miss something if we only offer group yoga classes. I think people who do yoga, it's nice to meet up now and again with other people who do yoga and even if they're different styles of yoga, we have a massive crossover. We have a massive connection. So it is lovely to just meet up off the yoga mat as well.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we'd love to have more workshops about other topics as well, like philosophy or things, but I think it takes some time for the general student to have an interest in that side of things. But one of the teachers also offers, like after her class, maybe every month or every couple of months, a chai chat. So hopefully, if we have the time, we can arrange a little bit more of that as well.
Well, as you said yourself, it took you a while to come around to the philosophy. I think as a group, the student base, it might take a while for enough people to be interested, but they'll never be interested if we don't offer it at the same time.
Yeah.
So we need to maybe preempt it a little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds really nice. And I can't believe you've got the view of what's the driving range now going to be?
So they're putting they're starting a track. So there'll be a running track around the driving range. They're putting in for some planning for some other development. I don't know the time frame, but they want to take advantage of the outdoor space. There's actually a sauna that's like a kind of they call it it's not really a mobile sauna, but it's kind of something that just arrived in place. So there's a sauna next door as well. So people can come and book that. So there's a separate company running that. So they're just hoping to have a bunch of different offerings for people who want to, to enjoy the view and their exercise or sauna or something.
I'm loving this. So you can go to a yoga class and then have a sauna booked next door.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah. And they have the kind of the bucket that you can cold bath after. Yeah. So I think the idea maybe eventually that you can also do the dip in the sea. So.
Okay, right. And you've got views of the burn. It really sounds quite idyllic.
It is, yeah. I'll send you some photos. You can come and visit.
I will come to visit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, next time I'm over, I'm going to stick my head in. And how do you find working with different so you're quite an eclectic studio, you're offering different styles of yoga. Do you find that they all gel well together?
I think that people who have been teaching in Galway for some time have a bit of their own following. And so it was great as we're starting kind of right after COVID and starting a new place to have really established teachers who could bring some of their old students into the studio. So certain teachers have their own students and they've just happy to have a new space to teach in because some of them closed during COVID. And other teachers are a little bit newer to teaching. So they're really good on social media and attracting different students. And I think we have also offered like a 10 class pass where people can try different classes and see what suits them best. And I think, as you know, for yourself, some people don't care what kind of yoga they go to. They just want to go and move. And some people become quite attached to a particular method or style that they feel comfortable with. And that might change. Like sometimes people start with one style and they feel like they need something slower or something faster. And so they find their way. So far it seems to be going well. And just for people to know there's that range of classes is also really helpful because at the end of the day, it has to suit your schedule as well.
Yeah, I hear you. I always, I'm a bit like you. I have a particular way of working and I enjoy that way. And I will seek out teachers who work that way. I'm not really curious about jumping. You know, I've had friends and students and teachers saying, oh, you should try such a style. And I'm thinking, no, thank you. I'm good. This works. Because for me, if I'm going to Galway, I can get the train or the bus or drive or run, but I can't do two of them at the same time. And I feel we're all, you know, the end goal of yoga is the same, but there are various different routes to take you there. So to me, it makes sense to apply myself to one method. But I know a lot of people, they just love that glow that they get from yoga. And 6 p.m. on a whatever day is the day they can do it. So they'll take whatever class is going. So, and I respect that too. We have different needs.
Yeah, I think in terms of Iyengar Yoga in Galway, there were a couple of teachers who were there before me. So I think one from the UK and she moved back to the UK. So there's a couple of people out there who did Iyengar Yoga maybe 15 years ago, and they were looking to find that again. So it was nice to have some people with an established practice, but pretty much the rest of the students who come to my classes are quite new. So it doesn't suit everyone, as you know, because it's slower paced and we're very technical, but it's what has always really resonated with me. It's an attention to detail. I feel it's very safe and some people have this impression if they had some experience with it that it's very rigid, but actually it's just, there's such a wide possibilities with Iyengar Yoga. It just really you just have to be a little bit patient, I think, at the beginning with it, to understand what I think is really special about it.
Yeah, I think the fact that you've got such a passion for it probably helps as well. And in as much as I know you, you are caring and kind, which also helps, and probably patient, which also helps. Yeah, they're lucky to have you and Sarah as the teachers, and such a fantastic space. I'm delighted for you. I'm delighted for Galway. It sounds really nice. And before the summer is out, I'm going to come over. So I'm going to concoct an excuse. I like to
see you there. We'll have to later about that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I'd like to thank you very much for coming on and having the yoga chats today. It's been really great, Tara. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Greg. It's been great to talk to you as well. Look forward to seeing you and welcoming you in Galway.
You will. You will.